Okay, we are live.
Welcome, everyone, to a little technical gremlin webinar webcast. I am Andrew Bartzis, joined by my intrepid co-host, David Ellis, who's also having a little bit of technical issues. As I walk over to my internet router and curse at it, as I unplug it and plug it back in for the 19th time, we are here to talk about universal citizen healing systems. Has David returned?
Do not see him yet. Let me see if I can find him in the room.
Yeah, that's the second, everyone. Everyone come on in. This is our inaugural webcast. We'll be doing special webinars, webcasts, from here until the end of the year, because we are here to educate you at the whole new level. We at Universal Citizens Media are trying, completing, and creating content, new content that is not the regurgitated garbage that has been spread around over and over again. We have the best hosts, the best guests, and the best products out there. So, everyone, let's get started here in just a second as I am cursing the technical gremlins. All right. Do we have a David yet?
David is on.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, David. How are you doing today?
I'm good today, Andrew. I understand you're having technical difficulty.
Just a little bit.
Why don't you come over and join me, Andrew? I got a chair here for you.
It would have been like 10 minutes to get me over there, and we had to get this webcast started. But it's fine. The internet will come back on, and we will be completed. So, David, let's talk about Universal Citizens Media, the content we've got coming, and our Barbados facility.
Oh, where do we start? Let's start with the Universal Citizen Media. Okay, so we're literally making useful television. This is a wonderful thing for us because what we're trying to do is give back, first of all, to the community. The second thing is we're trying to give everyone who's listening to our podcast who have is actually been give back, first of all, to the community. The second thing is we're trying to give everyone who's listening to our podcast who have is yeah, we just got a little bit of feedback there. We're having technical gremlins everywhere. Just one sec. Robert, are we having some technical issue?
Got a couple unmuted microphones. I'm taking.
And
okay, you wanna just do a complete mute? Okay, so we're actually very excited about what we're doing. The Universal Citizen Media is now putting out lots of content. The content will range from anything from healthcare to mental health to spirituality to business and legal questions. So we're not only catering for one community, we're catering for everyone. We have a number of shows that are coming out. We will have a show specifically on health. We will have shows specifically on wellness, on mental health, on any range of topics. The other thing that's coming on stream is the Unified Health Systems in Barbados and Boulder. Now, I need to tell you guys about that. The Barbados branch is set up like a clinic, so we're dealing with the most difficult cases that we can find. We are going to be doing testing and data collection. You will have people coming in and we will give you a workup coming in and out. So you want to be able to seize this opportunity because what we're offering, you're not going to get it at your local health center or hospital. You're just not going to get it. We have both traditional therapies. We have a doctor on staff, and we have non-traditional therapies. Okay, we have a hyperbaric chamber down there. We have a flotation pod. We have PMF therapy, and we have an infrared sauna. We are going to be doing, as I said, data collection. So we have an ECG machine. When you come in, we're going to take the readings. And when you leave, we're going to take the readings. And an EEG as well, which is an electroencephalogram to brain map those people who have who have actually been listening to our shows and who want the opportunity to participate in the study, please contact us at info@unifiedhealthsystems.com. Apart from this, we are setting up our Boulder facility. We're pretty much almost ready to go. So if you guys are in the US and don't want to travel to the Caribbean, there is an option for you here in Boulder. And I have to say that Boulder is one of the best and most coolest places I've been in the US. It's just quite amazing. So our facility is actually on a 98-acre ranch right now. And there's lots of space. The air is wonderful. I'm actually located here right now doing the webcast from here. And I can tell you that it's something to behold. So that would be the medical tourism model. Andrew, you still with us?
I am here. Can you hear me? I had to go and resort to some quite older fashioned built-in technology, but are you able to hear me now?
Yes, we're able to hear you.
I had to go and spit on the router. Quite literally. Get the curse of whatever the gremlin out of that router. But that is the price of doing communications at this particular level. They can't control Comcast and whatever skullduggery they're doing in their server rooms right now.
So I was just telling the audience about our UHS facilities. One is in Barbados and one is in Boulder. There is something else that I left out. We are about to put out our inaugural retreat in Barbados. And the first person we are going to bring to this retreat is a Qigong master. Robert, do you have the information for us? His name is Chris. He's been on the show before, and he's going to be doing a retreat in Barbados around Qigong and mindfulness. So I'm actually going to be in that at that retreat myself. So Andrew, you want to talk about Chris for a minute?
Yes, Chris is an incredible contact that we met quite some time ago through a very close friend, Anne Bancroft, who's an art conservative and very big into the Dzogchen meditation-based communities. And met Chris a little over a year and a half ago, and I was just so impressed by the educational factors, the type of brain that he has, the way he processes the science and the spirituality, and where he understands that there are many people who have gone too far into woo-woo. And I'm one of those woo-woo people. I tell you, after a while, if you go too far into woo-woo, you won't be able to say the other stuff. And Chris is one of those people that has a strong ability to cut off the woo-woo concepts and keep you on track to what you need to know. His standing practice is amazing, excellent. I have done Qigong practice with him. He's just one of those special teachers that we have access to. And he's got a lot of history and stuff that can help people reorganize their internal energy structures. He's a myofascial specialist and is available to do sessions also. So Chris is an amazing teacher, and the fact that we've got him here at Universal Citizen Media is a feather in our cap.
Yes, it is. We also have a number of teachers from Tibetan Buddhist masters. We have Reiki practitioners. We got doctors. We have lawyers. We have people from every walk of life and every profession, right, who are willing to share their expertise with you. Take your questions. If you had questions on, I don't know, something as random as Chinese, traditional Chinese medicine, we have a practitioner for that right now. We have built a professional network with people from all over the world. And thanks to our new platform, the Zoom platform, we can dial them in and you can interact with them. Andrew, you want to talk about our Baby Steps program?
Baby Steps online adult therapy programs. There are 5 modules within this. One is to deal specifically with those that have dealt with a hardcore or some form of sexual abuse trauma. Now, in the years of me doing this radio show, I would say at least 1/3 of the 10,000 plus public callers I've had have had some form of sexual abuse under the age of 12. And of that 1/3, half have been the abuse between under the age of 6, between 3 and 6, which has a horrible, horrible outtake on their future lives. And what we do is offer this baby steps program for those that are specifically dealing with sexual abuse. We have the online counselors. We have the therapists that can help you go through that adult program. Then we have communications. So many people lost their communication skills. And this 20-week course for communication is about re-getting that. Then there's alcohol, drug abuse, and codependency. Codependency is what creates a lot of the violent relationships that we have encountered, or so many of the callers, they're in a 5, 10, 20-year relationship, and one person can't do anything without the other person. And they are locked in a vicious cycle of hating each other, but they're still codependent on each other. And this is also an extended class because it's not something you can learn overnight. When you join the Baby Steps program, whatever is right for you will go through. And then in the online class, there's tutorials, there's videos. And then every week we meet in our Zoom group and we talk about our issues. So you're not going to be having sexual abuse people mixed with codependency. Each one's an individual class, though people can sign up for the whole thing because these are resources in which you can use to help other people. One of the reasons that David wanted to really expand this online Baby Steps program was because there are a lot of people who have not been suffering from this stuff, but can learn from it. They can become a better coach, a better counselor, a better mother, a better father, or a better teacher, or whatever it is. Because there are people that are, like me and David, addicted to learning. We have a learning issue. We never stop learning. We do not accept being bored. And this Baby Steps for adult, Baby Steps online adult program is for those that also just want to learn the other side. So much of what I've talked about between 2012 and 2016 dealt with the pedophile rings and all those people that were coming up. Well, now it's time to heal from that because that what you look at looks back at you. And we've had a number of callers who were whistleblowers on what's going on in the high-tech companies who are also started counseling groups for the people that have had to see, because there are many big tech companies that know how bad the child porn really is, and it's on their servers and they report it to the Fed. But internally, these are people that still have to deal with it and go through some form of counseling afterward, having to deal with it because they were never meant to deal with, their tech people never meant to deal with these abuse programs. So the Unified Health Systems Baby Steps program, you can find at unifiedhealthsystems.com. If you want to have more information, go to info at Unified Health Systems. Info at unifiedhealthsystems.com, and you'll be able to talk to someone or get information with what's going on. So David, let's talk about how Baby Steps can help people on the individual program, like the codependency program.
Okay, before I get to that, I just want to add something to what you had said. A lot of people are going to be wondering, why should I enroll in this Baby Steps program? Well, let me explain. As I said in my last broadcast, I said, what we have done here is not just made an online counseling program. What we have done is actually brought together a network of professionals in one place. So should you enroll in the program, you may not see my face every day. You may not see Andrew's face every day, but you're going to see some professional that can help you with the issue that you have. It doesn't matter what it is. So if there's something out of my expertise, we have somebody who can refer. So you're basically getting the value of many different professionals for the price of one product. And that's probably why it is probably your best option right now. Or you could just bounce around from therapist to therapist because you're going to get referred anyway. Except with our product, the referral is free. So in terms of value, that is basically what we are offering. As for how Baby Steps can help you, let's take codependency, for instance, because that's a big topic for a lot of people. Now, a lot of people get into relationships with the best intentions, but things go really awry. Okay, so you have people who are in relationships who become dependent on each other. And I'm talking about probably up in 80% of the relationships have a codependency aspect to them. So usually what happens is you have a a couple coming together. It may be a man or a woman, but somebody is financially dependent on the other, or somebody is emotionally dependent on the other, or a combination of both. What happens is that the relationship is poisoned because of the dependency, because somebody depends on somebody and somebody doesn't want to necessarily take that responsibility or fall short of that responsibility. And then you have resentment, and then you have anger, and then you have manipulation, and then you have a number of very poisonous aspects of the relationship coming forward. And it becomes an addiction, okay? So you may be addicted to that person because you see that person as your only savior in terms of your material benefit. And I'm talking to the housewives out there who hate their husbands, and there are a lot of you out there. There are a lot of you out there. You hate your partners, you hate your husbands, whether your husband may be a business person who ignores you, or whatever the case may be, okay? What the problem is that you wouldn't leave, or you won't address the situation because you believe that you are materially dependent on that individual, okay? That is codependency. And so what do? You find ways of manipulating the situation, distractions. You find ways of destroying yourself. You go to despair and such like. Okay, so what we're trying to offer you is a support structure where you work through your issues, where you work through them, okay? There are a number of other reasons why codependency develops, but one thing that is most certain is that whenever there's codependency, there is a lot of other toxic aspects to the relationship, okay? And we want to address that. We want to have people come and speak about it, get counseling, get help, get advice as to how they can get out of codependency, because codependency is not different from you being a junkie. Your drug is another person. That's what codependency is.
Your drug is the other person. And we get a lot of callers who are classic examples that they're the person that's codependent on, and the other person in the relationship is the couch surfing idiot, or the 20-year relationship where they just watch football and sports and have no care about what the other person does, but can't live without that person doing everything else.
Yes. And
let's talk about how many different forms that drug can come in. And the 10,000 plus public callers, for those that have been listening on, you're going to recognize what codependent callers really are.
Yes, it's very easy to spot codependency. To be quite honest, most people are ashamed that they're codependent, and so they try to hide it, but they don't hide it very well, okay? We have people who call in or speak to us privately who are completely dependent, okay, on another human being for emotional support, for financial support, for some kind of support, okay? It's not that they are not able, it's that their will has been broken by their dependency on that individual. And usually it happens quite innocently. You get involved with someone and you fall in love, as the case may be, or you want to spend the rest of your life with that person, and things may be going wrong. So you become deaf and dumb to the signs that your relationship is toxic. You become deaf and dumb to the signs, and it gradually builds up, and you become accustomed to a toxic environment, okay? So for the women out there, or men out there actually, because it goes both ways, whose husbands are cheaters, abusers, verbal abusers, first of all, like Alcoholics Anonymous, you have to recognize the problem and then want to change it. But that's the problem that we have with a codependency. As with any other addiction, it's acknowledgement that there is a problem that is always the problem in and of itself. Because once you recognize that there is a problem, then you are bound to do something to change it. Or you might decide to stay in that relationship. There are lots of women, and there's certain communities that are more susceptible to than others. There's certain communities where codependency is built into the culture, okay?
Like the Indian culture, and
you see, wow.
as well as the Persian and Middle East.
Codependency is built into the culture. There is no way of justifying codependency. If you are dependent on another human being for your emotional and psychological health, then you are not being a complete person. Okay, so we want to address these issues. And as Andrew has just made a politically incorrect statement, I will just go with it. We're going to address those issues because codependency never ends well for anyone. Okay, if you're in a codependent relationship, you literally have a choice. Are you going to grow old and miserable and bitter, or are you going to give yourself a chance at life? Now, codependency does not necessarily mean that you leave your partner, but you might need to reform that relationship or leave your partner. But do you have the strength to do so? How many of you out there right now have feelings of resentment for your partner? How many of you out there right now have feelings of betrayal and such like, and that continues to manifest in different ways? If you are listening to this broadcast, you have a problem. If you are still in the relationship, chances are that you are codependent. Here's a little key for you guys. If you think this thought, gee, I wonder if I'm codependent, then you are codependent. It's a very simple key.
You don't have an instant answer of, no, I'm not codependent. I'm an independent person. You're codependent.
Okay. And if that is the case, you need to ask yourself why. Because I do know for married women of a certain generation, and I'm not going to mention the generation, I'm going to try to be politically correct here, codependency becomes the norm. It doesn't matter whether their husband is abusive, he shouts, he curses, they stay. They are abused, they grow old, their health suffers, they get old, and all of a sudden it's like, what have I done with my life? The answer comes back to them, nothing. And a lot of these people run into spirituality, Andrew, and I'm pointing this one at you, because a lot of them run into spirituality because they want to recover the lost years of meaninglessness. So that is not true spirituality. I can pretty much tell you that. If you're running away from something into spirituality, that's a trap. So what we want to do is we want to address these issues. And when we want to counsel people, look, if you are in a codependent relationship, you have two choices, leave or reform.
So let's talk about those people that are stuck in a financial codependent relationship that has all those other octopus webs connecting into everything else, which leads people into spirituality because it's usually free.
Okay. So imagine this concept. You grow up, you saw your mom financially dependent on your dad, or you saw your father financially dependent on your mother, because we want to be very equal, although the majority of the cases go the former way. In the Western world, I know that for certain. So what happens is that you try to find the man and or the woman that puts you in the same situation. Okay. You don't realize this is happening because it's happening in the recesses of your subconscious. So there are some people that are just outright opportunists. I will only date a rich man. I will only date a rich woman. There are some people that are outright opportunists. Here is the trap of that. That rich man or that rich woman may not have the best personality. They just won't. So you get into a relationship and you are married. Wow, I've accomplished everything I needed to do in life. Oh, and by the way, I don't need to work. I'll just stay at home. I'll clean the house. I will do whatever I need to do. Sleep with my husband, and everything will be fine. Okay, that's a nice idea. And a lot of people, when I make these statements, there's usually an argument, a sort of an argument where people are saying, well, this is traditionally how it's done. Okay, just because something is tradition does not necessarily mean it's good. There are lots of traditions which are horrible traditions. Let's take female genital mutilation, for instance. What is the difference between that and codependent relationships? There is no difference. It means somebody is superior to someone else. It means that the person with the money is superior to yourself if you are in that situation. And then you have to ask yourself, was I put here on earth to be inferior to another human being? And you might say, yes, it's your soul's destiny to do so. Or you might just be making excuses. Or maybe your lesson is to stand. And if your lesson, yes, and stand and be counted like the rest of the human beings in the world. Right. Go ahead, Andrew.
When one chooses to make that stand, it's one of the most important teachings that I've been putting forward for many years, sovereignty, and how the many different ways that word can be applied to your independent relationship with yourself and independent relationships with others. If you're sovereign, you're standing in your own 2 feet and you're not allowing other people's perspectives and point of view mute and limit your sovereign perception. You hear, but do not allow it to fundamentally change your core beliefs. People who are codependent, instantly their core beliefs can be changed by who they are dependent upon.
This is true because you're literally singing for your supper. I mean, literally singing for your supper. Yeah. If you are in these kinds of relationships, there's also the element of manipulation. If I have the money and I say jump, you jump. If I hold the purse strings and I tell you something, you do it. Okay, I've had lots of interesting cases where spouses of husbands have literally been weaponized against people. Okay? Weaponized against people, as in your spouse tells you to do something which is against your conscience and you do it. You are in a codependent relationship and you need to stand. Okay, so let me tell you how this ends. It is the nature of human beings. I need to bring in a philosopher here. Thomas Hobbes. Was it Thomas Hobbes who says, man is nasty, brutish, and short by nature? Well, I don't necessarily agree with Thomas, but in practice, it tends to be that way. So let's say you're in a codependent relationship. The person who is superior, who holds the power over you, does not respect you. Okay? Love is important in a relationship, but let me tell you what is more important than love. Before you get to the love, get to the respect first, mutual respect. Because love, contrary to popular belief, does not conquer everything. If you have a lot of love and no respect, then somebody is going to be the underling. I'll let Andrew come back to us on that one.
So the underling. What makes you the underling? Choice and giving away power. When one makes a choice to give away power, they become somebody else's minion. There are often times that the person with the money has no intention of holding it over, but it's a subtle background thing that one is earning the money. I can use an example from a client session, a lady in a long-term relationship, and she convinced the husband to have a session with me, and I'm talking with him and going back and forth. And essentially what I discover is in this lady's mind, she's trying to complete and do so much for him. When she does something that is on her own, she feels selfish, and that if the husband says, hey, what's going on, what you're doing, she instantly comes home thinking he's paranoid about her. And that codependency creates all these other micro programs of inferiority. And after a while, you get loaded down with this inferiority complex, which makes codependency solid for you, real, and you can't get out of it. Okay? And
this is very true.
Okay, how do you get out of that vicious cycle? You reclaim your power. In this particular session, it was about the husband saying, I'm giving you your power back. You can't, I'm not holding any more of your power. You must be responsible for your power. And in about 3 months and lots of tears, lots of arguments, but in that argument, the husband always said, I'm giving you back your power. I'm not allowing you to hold it. I'm not holding money over you. I have never held money over you. You've spent money whenever you want. Why haven't you spent any money this week on yourself? Made her spend money on herself. They had plenty of money, but she had been stuck in this poverty consciousness or a lack consciousness. Lack consciousness affects more than just money. You're always in lack of the love coming to you, and you're giving all this love, but nothing comes back to me, which creates depression, regression, obsession, shame, blame, and guilt. And when you're stuck in the 6 nags of shame, blame, guilt, obsession, regression, and obsession, you will do what? Never see the joy in life.
And I also want to come in here and say that codependency actually affects both people. And it could be a mutual codependency. So for instance, in the situation that you're talking about, the husband may have the money. So the wife is codependent on him because she needs money and she needs validity, verification, validity to the rest of society. I am married to this rich, wealthy man. The husband, however, is using the wife sometimes because the wife gives him, well, apart from the obvious, which is sex, the wife gives him validity with regard to his society. So you have something called eye candy. So it's a mutual sort of codependency. And these kinds of relationships are fairly torturous for both people. Okay. And I've had several of these cases in my office where a man married a woman because of her looks. The woman married the man because of his money. Love was secondary. It was just a matter of, gee, how can we arrange? It was a business arrangement. Okay. I want to make a very incorrect statement, a politically incorrect statement. I can't believe I'm following you here on this one. There is no difference between prostitution and that. There is no difference. The difference is the length of the contract.
Okay? That's truth. That's maybe politically incorrect, but it's a politically incorrect truth that is avoided and avoided and avoided and avoided.
I normally like to see people who walk into sessions with me have a lot of judgment for the man who or the woman who took away their spouse. And they're judging and they're judging. And then when you get down to the many layers of why the marriage broke down or why the relationship broke down, they say, well, he gave me security. Okay, he's giving the person who just cheated on you, who he just cheated on you with, security as well. That person is seeking security as well. What is the difference between that person and yourself? The difference is that you got there first. That is the difference. We're living in a society of materialism. I understand this, okay? But the concept of marriage is sacred is something that you should have abandoned back in the 1970s. You know, this is something that has been abandoned. You know this, right? I do believe that a lot of people out there get married for the wrong reasons. They're in relationships for the wrong reasons. People give them validity. People give them some sense of worth. And if you need another human being to give yourself some sense of worth, you need to, first of all, analyze the worth of the person that is giving you that sense of worth. And if that person falls short, then you need to be out of there yesterday. Okay?
Then there are the others who come in with lack to a relationship, and the other may be giving and giving, but they're unable to actually receive because of their limitations at a young age. One of the questions in the chat we got is lack consciousness always the root of codependency? No. Oftentimes mothers or fathers who are running 2 and 3 jobs and barely have any money subtly imprint penny pinching. And after a while, penny pinching becomes, I can't have that, I have to save, which then becomes into hoarding. Oftentimes codependent relationships, you will see forms of hoarding in different states. And it's a big giveaway. If the hoarding is there, what are they in lack of and why are they hoarding? Sometimes it's hoarding stuff because they want to give a gift or always have it available, always have on-demand stuff for the person they're codependent with. Or sometimes become the minion and they have no idea they've become the minion of this person, even though the person doesn't want to treat them like a minion, which then becomes codependent for the person who's been put up on a pedestal, because that person is so mentally unstable, you can never relieve the relationship, because whenever you say, hey, you got to fix yourself, depression comes, and then you're stuck constantly going like this, and it's a pendulum of a codependent relationship. One's independent, one's codependent. One's independent, one's codependent. 5 minutes of both independent come together, make a rule, back to codependent, independent, like a pendulum over and over again. And sometimes the 20-year relationships are that.
Yes, for a lot of our modules, it's not just codependency. For the rest of the modules, if you have to ask yourself the question, if there is any doubt in your mind, then you probably need to be in the baby steps class. Yeah. If you have to ask yourself, gee, I wonder if I'm an alcoholic, then yeah, you probably need to be in the baby steps class, because honestly speaking, it will not have occurred to you. So I want people here to listen to me. Not everyone can be completely independent. We understand that. Not everyone can. And sometimes some people are in dire circumstances. And sometimes you need someone to lean on to, whether it be emotionally, financially, spiritually even. However, the leaning on to that person should be in the mode of, I just need to get my footing and walk. It should not be in the mode of, oh, wow, who left this crutch here for me to walk with? Okay? There are a number of statements that I actually listen to. It's, analyzing English language can really ruin your social life. I'll explain to you. Have you ever heard the statement, oh, where's my other half? Oh, where's my better half? Oh my God, wow. Every time I hear that, it's like, okay, so what am I talking to? Which half am I talking to? So I'm talking to half a person. Okay, if these kinds of stuff are coming through your mouth, please revise it. Think about it very carefully. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. It doesn't matter if you're joking or if you're serious. A lot of people are serious when they say that. Okay? And what they actually mean is, where's my other 3/4? If you're saying, where's my other half? What you actually want to say is, where's my other 3/4 or 5/8? Okay? That's actually what you're saying. Because if it came out of your mouth, you're not half.
Or my better half. I hear that one. You got to talk to my better half. Because oftentimes that's the one that does the scheduling. That's the one that pays the bills. That one that looks at the mail. That's the one that determines what you're going to shop every week for. While the other is completely codependent on that person to do all that. And the other day, you and I were talking exactly about this. And what did you say? Whenever anyone says to talk to the conversation and say, where are you going? I'm going to talk to the better half.
Yep. Or I start the sentence and then I leave it hanging. And then they ask me, where are you going? You're just walking off in the middle of talking to me. I'm going to tell the rest of the sentence to your other half.
To your other half, who will retain it.
But why am I talking to you? Why am I talking to you? But if you're thinking of yourself as half a person, then you have a problem. But I think this came about sometime in the middle 19th century, where people conceptualized marriage of the joining of two people. Okay, I mean, we've gone through many different kind of literary stages and so on, but the mid-19th century, the poetry and the literary works that came out always spoke about marriage as a joining of two to become one. Okay.
The Elizabethan.
That was back that was earlier century, but the mid-19th.
And then when the spiritual awakening is when they brought in the whole twin flame bullshit, which tried to mix with the Christian religion that there's only one person out there for you.
Yes, and this is going to lead us into that discussion about soulmates, isn't it? That's going to lead us into that discussion about soulmates. Okay, let's talk about soulmates, shall we?
Yeah, because that's a common question on the call-in shows. You're my soulmate. No, you're your codependent mate.
Okay, first of all, first of all, there are people out there who will fit perfectly with you. Okay, let's do some relationship economics here on the show.
Ooh.
Let's do some relationship economics. Okay. Okay. So according to the Kama Sutra, right, and for those of you who are listening, you had to master 64 different disciplines before you thought about going on a date. I wish everybody would just follow that. The 64 disciplines were not necessarily things that difficult things. They were things like reading, writing, dancing, singing, right? You had to master 64 different disciplines. Do you know why you had to master 64 different disciplines? Because it made you balanced. Okay? So everybody just wakes up one day and decides, oh, I need a woman. I need a man. Let me just go get one. Okay, so according to the Kama Sutra, you actually had to master refining yourself first before you became a burden to anybody else. Okay? And these 64 different disciplines, what they did was harmonize each aspect of yourself, whether it be your physical structure, your mental acuity, your intellect. Because Andrew and I have this running joke. You see, we wanted to buy an EEG, right? And we thought if we could just market a whole bunch of electroencephalograms, right? These are basically brain mapping devices, and hand them out to people, then the dating experience would be so much more efficient. You just put it on the heads of the person, get a reading off of their brain, and say, yeah, you're not compatible. Okay, So let's talk about the compatibility from the Kama Sutra. Okay, so, let's do the relationship economics. Some people are 70-30 trying to fit with 60-40. Let me explain. 70-30, 70 might be male, 30% might be female, because there's a balance of energies that has to happen. What the Kama Sutra was trying to say, everybody becomes 50-50, everybody fits with everyone else. Theoretically, of course. Okay, so you have 70-30 trying to fit with 60-40. And when we say the male aspect, we mean, the hardiness, let's go fix things, let's do things, right? And then you have the female, which is the more nurturing side. Theoretically, I'm talking in stereotypes, but we're talking about theory, okay? So you have the softer, compassionate side mixed with the let's go out and kill small animals to eat. I don't know, right? So basically, these are the kinds of things that we were trying, the Kama Sutra was trying to tell people. Everybody becomes 50-50. That eliminates the concept of soulmates immediately, doesn't it? Because when you are 50-50, you meet and you conjoin at the 50-50. Everybody's 50-50. And so you have two whole people becoming one whole person at the same time. That is spiritual economics. So there's the supply and demand area. So 70-30 theoretically should mix with, or can mix with, 30-70 on the same side, theoretically. Okay, but who has those kinds of figures down pat? Because you're dealing with lots of integers in between, right? You're dealing with a lot of possibilities in between. So somebody might be 58. What is the opposite side that we're talking about, like 42, right? Somebody might be 58, 42. Let me tell you, just 1% off is enough to cause friction. Just one.
So what happens when you have some woman that says, I am master divine feminine, 100% divine feminine, where's my soulmate? That's a common call, David. How does divine feminine fit into this economics of reality here?
Yes, I've heard this 100% divine feminine. I'm not quite sure what that means. You see, biologically, it makes no sense. X and Y chromosomes and all, they're kind of inconvenient when you're talking this kind of language. Mentally, it makes no sense because duality is part of the human construct. So you literally have a creative, nurturing side, and you literally have a processing, logical side. Okay? There are a number of myths that I want to challenge here on this webinar. I love webinars because, we can actually deconstruct a lot of bullshit. Men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Really? Okay. All right. So my Venusian sisters out there, let me explain something to you. In order to get to Venus, you probably passed through Mars. Okay? There, you didn't just appear on Venus. Okay? We are one species and we are both. We are always both. There's a feminine aspect and there's a masculine aspect. If you're 100% feminine, then you might end up having a lot of cats in your old age.
Or you have a trauma that is undealt with, that has put your pendulum into the femininity, and you're trying to promote this concept, and it becomes a minor business that never allows you to heal, which is extremely common. And men do the same thing. But right now there's this movement, and many of those people in that movement come to shows like this and want to know why their vision board for the soulmate never works, why their intentions, their prayers, it never works, because they're not 50-50.
They're not 50-50. And you know what else that I do believe is a problem? People generally tend to swing to both sides of that equation where I'm totally 100% man. And you look at them and the fact that you said that means that you are not, okay? So when it is that you swing the pendulums to the extremes, it's usually reactive to something, as you were saying, okay? I have been hurt. Some man has eradicated or effaced my femininity through rape or whatever else, and now I am 100% feminine. Okay, if you have been oppressed by anything, the answer is not to go to the opposite end of the spectrum or your end of the spectrum. In any situation, balance is important. Any situation. Okay, balance is very important. So there have been a few movements which actually concern me, and I say this in all honesty. Okay, now, when I was in university, I did a course called feminism, contemporary feminism. And I really liked the course. And you're probably wondering, what was David doing in a course on feminism? Yeah, I actually was interested in the course. Okay. And I studied the different kinds of feminists that they are out there. And I found it difficult to swallow how radical feminists think. Okay, but that is becoming, the world is becoming so polarized. You have right-left politics, now you have male and female issues, and so on. And it is not necessary. All of this stuff is not necessary. So for those of you who are thinking of getting into a relationship, please understand, number one, it is important for you to be discerning and see the individual, not only in terms of the economics. What does that individual bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? Yes, I know a lot of people are saying, but didn't you say that this is not supposed to be an arrangement? It's not supposed to be an arrangement. But theoretically speaking, if you're talking to someone, just having a general conversation with someone, what does that person bring to you? And what do you bring to that person? Okay? Because it's a give and take situation. It's not a take situation, and it's not a give situation. Many people are parasites. Okay? A lot of people are parasites. And this 70-30, 60-40 kind of mix, it usually 90% of the time does not work out, which is why we have 50% divorce rate in the US, and it's climbing. It's now gone over 50%. You know this, right, Andrew?
Yeah, I experience it all the time in the private sessions and the public calls. Some of them have 3, 4, and 5 divorces.
3, 4, and 5 divorces.
Yeah, sometimes 6. And I met a particular gentleman that may have married the same woman 3 times.
Oh.
3
really?
Yeah.
He married the same woman 3 times.
3 full-on divorces. He lost millions of dollars in the first one, almost millions of dollars in the second one, and then still remarried her. And they've 40-something years they've been together now.
Oh, I see. So... wow.
Yeah. Wow.
That's stubbornness. That's really being stubborn. But you know, love is blind. That's what they say. Love is not blind. Okay, the first love you should have is self-love. If you don't have self-love, you can't love anyone else. You really can't.
You can't. You don't know how. You can fake it till you make it. And oftentimes that's faking it till you make it leads to a divorce because you really can't love yourself. You can't really be in the relationship co-sharing, but you're codependent. The co-sharing is one thing. Codependency is completely another spectrum.
Yeah, and let's give some advice to the men and let's give some advice to the ladies here. Okay? So, the men who are out there, if you're looking at... Sorry, Robert, hilarious. Right, so for the men who are out there...
Guys, that was an accident. I was looking at something else while I was surfing the internet. What were you talking about?
We're giving advice to the men. Mm-hmm. So for the men out there, let me give you some advice. First thing is first. If you're looking at a woman like a piece of meat, then you have already lost. Okay? The next woman you look at as a piece of meat, think that could be your sister or that could be your mother. It might cure you of that reverie that you're in.
Right. Oftentimes porn habits make people look like meat because they're looking at 30, 40, 100 pictures or videos over and over again multi-times in a month. And every time they see something that's attractive, they immediately go to that porn frame.
Yeah, is that they won't do that to their sister or their mothers, would they?
Unless the video says hot mama, hot sister, which is fucking up a lot of heads right now.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's okay. So a lot of them might actually save themselves if they think, I probably wouldn't like somebody looking at my mom or my sister like that. Yeah, so if you didn't like it, don't do it. Okay? So that's number one. First piece of advice. Second piece of advice, all that glitters is not gold. Often you have heard that told. Remember? Buyers beware. Gilded tombs do worms enfold. That is from Shakespeare. Okay? When you meet a woman and she's pretty and you think, oh, this woman can make me look good. The woman is probably thinking, oh, what do I get in return? Okay, so if you value your pocketbook, XYZ, in terms of like your personal belongings and stuff, and you don't end up with a gold digger, please be aware that please be aware that you have sold your soul literally sometimes to the devil. All that glitters is not gold. Number three, third piece of advice. If you are in a relationship where a woman makes you feel like crap all the time, right? It doesn't matter if there are a lot of women who are aggressive. They are unnecessarily so, and they're aggressive because of something they may have gone through, some trauma. Okay, but if you're with a woman who is making you feel like shit, run far away. It won't go away, because if she's making you feel like shit, it's a habit pattern that she has developed. All right, if you have,
and to enjoy it after a while. Because if you just keep taking it and taking it and taking it and taking it, it becomes joy for that other person, a joy to never heal that trauma.
That is correct. It's not only a joy for them, but you are enabling very bad behavior. Okay? A lot of people could have been stopped if somebody stood. There is an old saying, right? Evil flourishes when good people fail to act. Be that good person and tell that person, no, absolutely not. You can go find somebody else, but put them in their place. And probably you could save the next sorry bloke some pain. Okay, probably they might learn something from your rejection. You never know. And now to the women. Oh, boy. If you are with a man because he provides you security and stops you from having to work, and there are a lot of you out there, I'm going to be very, very honest, because this webinar, I'm not coming down on women, because there are a lot of women out there who are at home because they care about their children, and that's fine. And they're in genuine and very good relationships. Everybody on this chat line knows exactly the kind of woman I'm talking about. Okay?
one who gave up a long time ago of standing on their own 2 feet and wants to be the minion.
Okay. If you already accept yourself as beneath a man, then there is a problem that you are going to have where the man accepts himself as above you. Okay? Let me ask you a question. You may love your pet, your dog, a cat, gerbil, it doesn't matter what it is. Okay? May I ask you a question? Do you think that your pet is equal to you? No. You put yourself in that position, you are some man's pet. He may love you, he may pet you. Oh my God, right. He may pet you, right? But he may not let you sleep in his bed. He certainly won't take you to any business meeting he's going to. Do you imagine him and Fido having a business meeting? He won't tell you about his personal issues. And if he wants to bring another woman in the house, or if he wants to go with another woman, remember, you're his pet. Have you ever seen men asking their dogs, gee, what do you think? You think I should go with this woman? No. That's the position you put yourself in. I wanted to make this analogy so that it's sunk in. Don't be somebody's pet. Stand. That is the first piece of advice I would like to give to women. The second piece of advice I'd like to give to women is society has done you all a lot of wrong. This is true. Nobody can contradict this statement. Society has done women a lot of wrong. They have paid them unequally. They have given them this concept that sexuality is the domain of the man, and we tell you all what is proper and appropriate sexuality, and yeah, you don't get a say. A lot of women have accepted that. And this is all looked with religion and the poison of religion and belief systems and so on. So society has done women a lot of wrong. That is a statement of fact. Just because society has done you a lot of wrong doesn't mean that it should continue. Okay? And it shouldn't continue with you. Because if every woman listening to my voice decided one day, oh, well, we're not taking any more shit, we're on strike, that would shut down a lot of systems immediately. You do realize that, right?
Yeah.
That would shut down just about every system. We're not taking it anymore. We are on strike. That would bring a halt to all kinds of oppression. Here's the problem, and this is some true statements that I'm going to make. There are a lot of women out there that support men's superiority over women. And they support the pet concept, where the man is the owner of the woman who is the pet. Women support that. They teach it to their daughters. If you are listening to my voice and you're teaching this kind of poison to your daughter so that she grows up to be like you and be under some man, you are a horrible mother. I'm sorry, you are.
David,
Okay?
I know that this is politically challenging here, but horrible mother, let's define it. Why? Because you're putting such powerful imprints on your children they're going to take to the future.
Okay, so let me give you an example of what I'm speaking about. I have a friend who belongs to a particular community who teaches women to be subservient under all circumstances. They literally teach them that the men are their gods. As in, I've actually heard this come out of her mouth. I had a 3-year battle trying to get her to educate her daughter. A 3-year battle, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Why does she need to go to school? She can always work in the store that is owned by the woman's husband. Okay. I had a 3-year battle because the young lady wanted to learn, and the mother didn't see the need for it. How is this a good thing? Here is the problem. The mother that I'm speaking about sought my counsel because she was feeling worthless, because her husband kept putting her down. But she's teaching the same poison to her child to continue this kind of horrible behavior. I need to make this judgment for the very simple reason that that is ethically and morally speaking wrong. It is a wrong thing to do. If you are seeking help because something is affecting you, but you're teaching your children that same negative behavioral pattern that got you to seek my help, then you are being a horrible person. That is not a good action by any means. So when I speak and I make a judgment, I'm actually keeping in the back of my mind, right? The morality philosophers who tell you that for an action to be right, it has to be reversible. Would you want somebody weakening you? Empowerment is what you are supposed to do as a parent. It doesn't matter if you're a single mom. It doesn't matter if you're married or if you're in a polygamous situation. Empowerment is what you are.
I think David is having a little bit of an internet issue. Can people hear me? Type something in the chat room if you're able to hear me too. All right, you're all able to hear me. So I think David will be back in a second once his internet gremlin returns. Strange day here that we are having at the Universal Citizens Media relation with Comcast. I think I'm gonna have to make a Comcast revocation invocation about internet service speed and quality, or we'll have to start something that demands Comcast, do what they advertise. Now, we're going to take some questions from the chat room. Irene is saying the Muslim often have something very similar. Muslim, Indian, Middle East, Russian also. And it is something that has been from the bygone eras of the 1400s, 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, so on and so forth. For whatever reason it was going on. Robert, do we know what's going on with David?
Not yet. I think he's out of communication.
So his internet must be dropping like mine did before. So, all right. So let's take a caller, Robert. Spin the wheel of webinar webcast callers. Did I lose you, Robert? Robert. Who do. I think I just lost Robert. Ha 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 ha. All right. I don't know if are you able to hear me, guys? I think my producer in Colombia just.
Yes.
They can hear me. Great. Okay. Thank you, Jen. All right. So this is comical right now. Really, really comical.
Yeah.
So until Robert comes back, I won't be able to take a caller, but I can take questions from the chat room. So everyone formulate a question that's based on what we've been talking here. And we will take questions until the Internet Comcast Gremlins International are resolved. All right. Can you speak on cultural spells and causes of subjugation? So I don't want to pick on one culture, but what I'll do is I'll say, let's look at French culture, French and British culture, which allows men to have multiple consorts and relationships, but when women do it, they're publicly ruined, so on and so forth. Now, that cultural acceptance is centuries old, steeped in all sorts of myths and other stuff that are out there. Now, allowing it is one thing, Dealing with it is another thing. Changing it is a whole different form of thing. Now, is it a spell? Practiced magic? No, but the culture imprints you at such a young age that it's very hard to resist it. So it can be considered a energy that, if you don't have momentum, will keep you suppressed into that perspective and point of view. And how do you break that? Momentum of the self, sovereignty, independent relationships, an understanding of what a codependent relationship is, and then an understanding that oftentimes once you're in the cultural spell, there's a whole variety of other spells that compress you down even more. The way laws are designed, more beneficial for men. The equal pay doesn't exist in the pay thing. So women have a variety of things that compress their capacity to resist that spell, where men have this momentum added to them, which makes this gap and pendulum between everyone that's going on. All right. What does it mean to own your issues? Ooh. Well, that is one that I have said a long time. Owning your issues means you can't avoid them anymore. Owning your issue means you've identified them and have decided to move into a situation where those issues can't dominate your reality, cannot be put off onto others. Oftentimes people project their issues onto others. In that and in its own concept, hold on a second. Oh, what's going on here? So when people don't own their issues, they give ownership of themselves to other people. So owning your issues means sovereignty at all the different layers and levels. Okay, hold on one second. All right, Jen, I see that. So David's having internet issues over there. Shit happens. What is it, the best way to get back into equity? Equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order as an emanation of who you are. Now, many of you over the years have heard me say this over and over and over and over again. It's an emanation of who you are. Equal co-creation means I equally co-create. And when a person is not in equal co-creation, I remain in equal co-creation so I don't enter the pendulum. What is non-competition? Well, a person, you may be relating to them in an equal co-creative state, but every time you get to natural co-creation, they compete beyond you and not necessarily put you down, but are showing off. Now, equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order. Well, it's just like equal co-creation and non-competition. Non-hierarchical order means I don't put myself before you in conversation concepts, political concepts. We allow other persons to have their perspective, their point of view, and we don't allow their hierarchical concept to imprint hierarchy into us. We don't accept their core beliefs that will change us. All right. What's this? So how emotional trauma may show up as physical points of tension that people may carry out with them throughout the life. All right, the vicious cycle. When you're stuck in a vicious cycle, most of the times you don't know. And it takes like a counselor or somebody in a counseling scenario to point out to you you're in a vicious, repetitive cycle. It's like the dog who can't let go of a bone. Well, why can't the dog let go of the bone? Okay. There's a reason. It doesn't want to. There's a confusion in the desire, a confusion in the need, and a confusion in the want. When you have no idea what a want, need, or desire is, one is very confused. And this vicious cycle between want, need, desire, shame, blame, guilt, depression, regression, obsession is part of that 9 concept themes. And then we're stuck in the algorithm of repeating depression, repeating obsession, freeing ourselves depression and obsession, and then getting stuck in shame, blame, guilt. And on a new equation where obsession to shame, blame, and guilt is never ending. That is both equal to men and women. Because oftentimes when we are growing up, we have no idea what shame, blame, or guilt is where our parents emotionally dump shit on us in unawareness. All right. All right, 1 second. So Jen, did we lose Robert also?
Yes, I think so. Do you want to
No.
choose one party? Oh, Robert is there.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
here, you guys. I haven't heard or seen David in any other platforms right now.
Okay, I think his internet went out. I'm only like 3 miles from him, or 2 miles from him, so it's ironic. All right, Robert, can you spin the wheel of callers?
Sure thing. First caller will be Frida Drurian.
Rita, are you there?
Yes, Andrew, I'm here.
Hi, where are you calling from today?
Nevada.
Nevada. So what did you want to talk about today?
Andrew, I have consulted you twice before, and everything you recommended, I've done. I did go to an island, stay there 10 days, but just the world happened to prevent me from moving there. And then another wise person told me to go to somewhere, live close to a coastline, and another world of things happened to prevent me there, to go there. So now I'm in Nevada, someone's guest in someone's home, trying to find my path. Well, it seems that technology, high tech, everything I've invested my life in isn't working for me in Bay Area. So I'm trying to find another thing for myself. And I've certified in QHHT, thinking maybe I should do healing. That somehow is questioned if that is a path for me. And so I need to know, what is this block? What do I need to do? What kind of healing do I need to do on myself or seek help in that would unblock whatever it is that's blocking me from continuing my life in a good path?
Can I be blunt with you?
Uh-huh.
And you got to hear me. Your blockages you are creating by yourself. If you're having technology issues, it's because you're not focused around them. And you're creating an energy that is creating the technology blockages, city to city to city, place to place to place. I encounter this all the time, equally between men and women. People restart their life and everything goes wrong, from technology to email to this to that. You're creating it.
No, but the job-wise, my technology usage is fine. It's just job-wise to get into.
You're creating something that is the barrier that is unhealed in you.
What is it?
Let me finish. I'm trying to be blunt here because there's a program that's not allowing you to hear this.
Mm-hmm.
Your journey to get there has had good, bad, indifferent, and then extreme trauma. You've been dealing with the extreme trauma, and now you think you're ready to go, but there's still the good, the bad, and the indifferent that is undealt with. You've gone to the pendulum of dealing with the hard stuff. Now there's all these other subject matters that are minor ones that have been avoided for so long, but they're tripping you up over and over again. You're not really seeing the good that happened during all the shit. You're not understanding the indifference that was done to you, and you're not seeing the bad that has been done in other ways to you, which has made this easy to jump into the extremes of the shit you went through.
So
you've got to pick up the metaphorical broom and start sweeping up the tacks on the floor that you keep stepping on, that stop you from moving forward, that stop you from momentum. You can't build momentum. If you can't build momentum, it's inside you. Something is blocking it inside you.
So every day I meditate and I clear this every day. But what else can I do?
That's extreme. If it's not cleared from every day, stop doing it.
Okay. What else would you advise me to do?
Can I hunt again and you hear me?
Yes.
Sometimes we get so far up the ass of spirituality, we come out our own mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And you've done that. You got to stop being 1,000% spiritual and be 50% human. You've gone too far down the healing spirituality and processing and have missed the point of all the other stuff.
Give me like a example of what I should be doing, like not meditate.
Meditating every day on one subject matter and it never being cleared.
So not to meditate.
No, you're not listening to what I'm saying. Do
Okay.
something else, not because meditation isn't working. Something that isn't spiritual at all.
I do that too, actually.
What do you do?
I mean, I travel sightseeing. I'm now working on getting a job not related necessarily to my regular high-tech job. So it's like a job that sustains life, but it's away from that, just to
It's still
see.
spirituality concept. Here's an example. You got to spin the pendulum to the other side. Go to a sporting event. When's the last time you did a baseball game, football game, or a soccer game?
I don't, because I don't play those games. I don't understand them. It's just not.
Then this is what I'm saying. You've got to go to the opposite of spirituality and go into the realms of sports, entertainment, comedy, something that doesn't have the theme of spirituality, which you have gone too far in.
Even if I don't enjoy it, just to do something that's completely
You got
different.
to do it as a committed discipline so that you can pull back your spirituality stuff and be more balanced so you can see some of these blockages. Oftentimes, people are looking and not seeing what's right in front of them because you're so far into the predictive spiritual concepts that you're not seeing what's right in front of you. The tacks on the floor, the stubbing of the toe, the things that constantly stop our momentum. Okay. Comedy is one of the surefire ways. You can go to comedy shows. There's comedy clubs everywhere. You probably hear me talking about it in the show frequently.
Right.
You gotta find a scenario in which you can personally see, I've gone so far into the pendulum of spirituality, I don't really know what being normal is anymore. And
So-
when you don't know what being, let me finish. When you don't know what being normal is anymore, your spirituality is skewed and obscured, and then you're not really in the spiritual realms anymore.
So what is my potential once I'm able to clear that? Am I like into healing modality after I've cleared it, or am I supposed to work?
Give you an answer until you pull back all of the spiritual shit that you've done over the years, the trauma, the healing, and are back in your body, not doing spiritual stuff.
Okay, I'll try that.
You will, but you're not going to go far enough. Let me help you. I've known you for some time, and I understand where you're at. You have been on this fiery, blazing, burning path that I'm going to heal myself. You've done You've done enough. You don't need to do any more right now. Take a 6 months from sabbatical from anything spiritual, including me.
Okay.
Take all the notifications off your Facebook, remove yourself from all the groups that have anything to do with spirituality, anything at all. Do you have the guts to do that?
Yes,
Call back in 6 months,
will do.
okay? Because you're going to learn something. If you really pull back, wipe it all clean, you're saving it for the future, but wipe it all clean and figure out what it means to go to a sporting event, go to a bar, drive your car, see and sightseeing that isn't spiritual shit. You will discover that your spirituality has a whole new vision for you to see this world.
Okay.
And give you a whole new point of view of how to reuse your spirituality. Because once you go back to the spirituality, what you learn is you've lost nothing and gained a whole new perspective and point of view.
Okay.
You're not meant to be out there. You're meant to be in your body, here now, in loving friendships, companionship, relationships that help the inner you grow so that spirituality isn't all about healing the traumas you've been through.
Okay.
Okay? Good luck, and I hope you can do it. Okay?
I will do it, Andrew. I will. I trust you. I trust your advice. Andrew, if once I'm done with that kind of healing, with that kind of working on myself, bringing myself into balance, into as a human, would I need to visit your healing modalities just to open myself up to more opportunities? Would I benefit from that? Would that be something I would need?
It's beneficial for you to do it as a non-spiritual healing journey.
Okay.
During that 6 months where you're cutting yourself off from all the other spiritual information sources that create a feral awareness of all the spirituality shit around you.
Okay.
You're over aware right now, and that's what's stopping you. I've been there, over aware, too much input. Oh.
Yes.
copying over aware, and you're going to learn, hey, you've got some laser focused sight and vision that can make you a special being.
Okay.
All right, take it easy.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you.
David, you have returned.
Yes, I have returned from technological hell.
I get it.
Yes.
It's all right, I lost you.
We
And I
seem to be having issues in. Yeah.
you're up on us. So where you're sitting at right now, David, is a very bad internet spot.
Right now.
Yeah, we can't really understand you. Where you're sitting at in that house is really a bad internet spot.
Robert, are you there?
Yeah, we're here. So you really can't hear.
Okay, I will move.
Yeah, you'll move. You have to go into the other room. I've been there many times. It's just
Yeah, sure, no problem.
that internet spot. It's just whatever is going on at that particular spot where you're sitting.
Okay, I'll be back with you guys shortly.
Okay. All right, Robert, let's spin the wheel of callers again.
I'm going to have a glass of wine after today. Next, Phaedrana, you are unmuted.
What?
Are you there, Adriana?
Hello? Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, where are you calling from today?
Oh, wow, I'm in Europe. Right now I'm in Budapest, which is Hungary. It's next to Austria.
Budapest. Welcome to the show. What do you want to talk about today?
Oh, well, I was not expecting this. Well, my question earlier was a little bit more complex. It was about how emotional trauma may actually show up as physical points of tension in the body. And a lot of people may not be aware of that because it becomes like you tend to feel that is your body, but actually there's a point of tension in there. And at one point, maybe a few months ago, you mentioned about myofascial therapy, and I took that pretty seriously. And ever since I've been in Europe, I've been taking that 3 times a week for an hour and a half each.
Beautiful.
And it has seriously transformed my body, like seriously. So thank you for that. And also the healer that I found has been really special. So it has been such a synchronistic event. And so it really has put me back in touch with who I am, and I can see things more clearly. I can think more clearly. And I really feel that many people do not understand how childhood trauma or relationship trauma or work trauma, whatever, can seriously affect who we are. And it's hard to find the sovereign being that you try to lead us toward without that, and how there's not enough awareness about this. And also it can be expensive. So some people may not financially be able to do that. And doing just a single session a day would not have brought me to this level of transformation. So it really was the taking it 3 times a week for an hour and a half and having the right practitioner. And the thoughts that have been running through my mind, because I've even had flashes of memories come in as I was releasing something, but random memories like from teenagehood, from childhood, from all over the place, and they came up as postcards and then they left.
Those are called somatic release. Did you ever spontaneously cry?
Oh yeah, quite a lot. Yeah. Yes.
Memories come up, that means that memory was stuck in a tension moment. So you were talking before about the 3 times a week, an hour and a half. Well, most people, their fascia and their muscles are so tight, it takes that long to get into it. And if you're doing 1 a week, it'll take you 25 weeks to break down. But oftentimes, 25 weeks, you'll be tense again and relaxed again, tense and relax, and never reach true relaxation state. The fact that you're able to follow through with that is another living testimonial of what immersion therapy really means. Often people can't give that to themselves because they don't believe in themselves enough, or they can't afford it. Oftentimes you can figure out a way. Okay? You can figure out a way. There are other devices that release fascia, deep salt baths, flotation tanks. When you combine myofascia with flotation tank, it quadruples the strength of the myofascial release. Just listening to what we're saying, we're giving these recipes for wellness. You're able to follow one that has given you a chance to understand that memories are trapped sometimes inside of us. And some of them are good memories, bad memories, indifferent memories, or what the hell kind of memory was that?
And then, so this is one level, but then there's the other level, which I wonder about, is how entities may enter our bodies and create points of tension, or may cloud our minds, or may take us away from the right path, and how other people may affect us from far away and create points of tension to the point of even it being a shield, and of us not being able to sense these.
Let me break your question down. First thing first, 95% of all entities are self-created. That leaves 5%. Now, there are many people who pretend to be an entity in unawareness because they're projecting such powerful, controlling, manipulating concepts at you. And honestly, that can be worse than a demon, way worse than a demon. And how does a person know that a psychopath is projecting psychopathy on you, or sociopath, or narcissism? Narcissists are some of the worst projectors. Why?
Yes, I know.
They do. So is it an entity? You got to really be more about what are self-created, the external physical beings who are sociopaths, narcissists, so on and so forth. Now, when it comes to entity, that's magic. If you have a daily practice, spiritual hygiene, you have a daily, weekly, monthly practice of self-reflection and know thyself, entities can't really enter your field. Now, if you have self-created entities, external people projecting on you, no spiritual hygiene, no physical practice, you're fucked. And you can't do much other than begin the journey of sovereignty.
I mean, I have known people who practice that kind of magic, and so I do see and I do know that it is possible, and they've even taken parts of my belongings, and he even measured each part of my body while I was asleep, but including each inch of my fingertips. That's pretty scary. Yeah.
That's creepy. Yeah. Why'd you allow it?
Well, I didn't know who was doing it. I didn't know, and it was when I escaped the whole thing that so many things started to happen that didn't make sense. And I feel like I've managed to cleanse myself of this, but it took me a long time. And but I do feel I've gotten to a good place with it, especially with all of this treatment.
My advice for you is to do what I call a self-audit. Really determine of 95% of entities, what did you create? And then what did you create that allowed you to be ignorant to what was being done to you?
I felt like that was part of the magic, to keep me ignorant of it, because once I realized,
it was already there. It was just amplified by the magic of yourself.
What do you mean?
Amplifies what's already there. Until you learn the rules of magic, magic is an amplification process of what's already there. And so oftentimes it's our own internal created demons that amplify ignorance within us, or gullibility.
Well,
Now,
I had one other point that I was exposed to this realm, which was something that was with me since early childhood, and it still shows up sometimes, and that's like a form of nightmares or night visitations that would be like night terrors, I would say. And I definitely was not making this happen. They would have happened to me all the time, and it took me about 10 years to figure out that the only way for me to protect myself would be to teach myself how to have no fear. In the face of all the terror, how to have no fear. And that allowed me to wake up, because I couldn't wake up while all of it was happening. I couldn't wake up.
Were you in sleep paralysis when these were happening? You couldn't move your body?
Sleep paralysis, yes. So I could often see what was happening outside of me in the room, but I was asleep and I couldn't wake up. And sometimes I would be sounds or colors or dark figures. Sometimes I would hear a choir in a different language, and but always full of terror. And I would wake up sweating and not be able to go back to sleep for a long time. Sometimes it would happen 3-4 times a night. Like I would have little poems written around me on the wall just to keep me safe. And yeah, so that was definitely not my doing, I don't feel, because I never wanted that to happen. And I was a child, like really young when it started, and it still shows up sometimes, but not as much.
But it shaped you into who you are today.
How do you mean?
You have no fear, don't you?
Well, I have gone through so much fear that, yeah, I can definitely face a lot of things.
That makes you 1,700% stronger than 99% of the world.
Well, yes. I mean, I know we should be grateful for all of that. And once you're out of it, it's a lot
Sure.
easier. But
Everything is
yeah.
a teacher. Where you're at is the final forgiveness of the infinite spirit creating disconnection in which you had to go through the reconnection to.
That
At some
is true.
point, you had to be disconnected from spirit to get what spirit is.
Well, there have actually been times, that's true, when I felt like everything disappeared within 24 hours, and it would be a long story to go into each of those, but I always felt that the only thing that could never be taken from me by anyone was my connection to spirit. That was always there. It was never ever
But you had your series of
broken.
but you had faith broken. I've had my faith broken many, 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 many times. I came back to it and learned a whole new point of view about my ignorant selves and gullible selves that allowed shit to happen.
Mhm.
I've had years, I'm gonna tell you, I've had some night terrors where, watching whole worlds be annihilated and mutilated and trying to stop me from being able to do what I do, until I understood I needed my sacred neutral point of view and understand you cannot overwhelm me with information. Bring it on, bitches. That's what I did.
Yeah, and then they disappear, and then they go away because they
I give
feed
them a
off of the
wedgie
fear.
or swirly. I can't tell you how many demons I've shoved their head in a toilet full of shit and flushed it. Humiliate the shit out of them. I don't give a crap if it's 5,000 years old and Satan, whatever. I'm going to humiliate it. And it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Whole different view when you have no fear.
Oh, yes.
That journey to no fear was why you were born.
Oh.
Now, what are you going to do with it? The infinite question you hear me say, now what? So many people, I've had the visions of the universe. Great, now what?
Well, I definitely believe that the pendulum swings to each side, to a similar extreme. So if you're going to reach high, you're going to have to experience the lows as well. If you're going to reach heaven, you're going to have to face hell. No, you don't think so?
You stop the pendulum from existing in your life, and you're a balanced being who doesn't have a pendulum running who you are.
Oh, I mean, I agree to that. Definitely. It's more the of how much you're able to perceive of the world and what's around you. If you're able to perceive heaven, you're going to be able to face hell as well. It's just the ability of the perception, I feel that. And it's in a way a price to pay to get to know each side of the coin, and then you can be balanced.
What if the coin doesn't have two sides? It technically has three.
Well, one exists to define the other, doesn't it?
Well, no, that's the vicious cycle they want us all to be caught into. And I want to bring Dave. I want to bring David back, and I want to bring him back here about this vicious cycle of good, bad, and the coin has three sides.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you.
Okay, so good and bad. So if you think of good and bad in terms of energy, theoretically, you can't have, all you can have is frequency. You can't have necessarily good and bad energy. What you define as bad is basically the result of negative effects of that energy. Okay. So when you're looking at these concepts of good and bad, everybody seems to be caught up on them. How do you determine what is good or bad energy, what is evil and what is not evil? How do you do that yourself or yourself?
Is that a question?
Yeah, it is a question.
Yeah.
How do you do? Well, I feel like I have had to encounter so much of it that I can almost smell it at this point. And I remember the times when I couldn't, and I feel like that's part of the learning. Ultimately, I go by my intuition because it guides me well, and and I also have a physical reaction to it. Actually, when somebody is in the room whose intonation, I pick up an intonation very fast. I can sense the evil behind the intonation, and more like the intention. I'm not saying, I don't think there's anyone evil to the core, because they wouldn't be here. But
Oh,
so like,
people that are evil
yeah.
to their core. Absolutely.
I like to get into these philosophical discussions. So, Phaedrana, is that who I'm speaking to right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The question really was, how do you determine what is evil from not? And your answer is by intuition. Am I correct?
Yes.
So you
I mean, there are
intuit good
also
and
obvious signs. I mean, there are signs. I used to do screenplay writing, and when you create a character, it's easy to tell which character might have evil aspects or not, or how to create that based on the clothes that they wear, or how they. I mean, there's so much that could just be psychology, but I really feel that some people, like psychopaths, for example, who are so highly intelligent and they live to manipulate people and to deceive people. So you can't always depend on those signs, because some people use that to deceive. So that's why I go by intuition, because that does not deceive me anymore, because I listen to it.
Okay, how much do you listen to it?
I mean, I could probably listen to it even more. But mostly where I employ it is in terms of determining which direction to take my life, and how to keep on my path even when other people try to stop me from being there.
Okay.
So I feel like that's an important point, to listen to ourselves and not to be socially conditioned or
You live in Budapest, am I
influenced.
correct?
Yes. Oh no, I don't live here. No, I live in the Bay Area. I'm just here because of a family inheritance quarrel that I came for 2 weeks, and I've been here for 2 months now, and it's not ending, and it's not fun to be a part of. It kind of breaks my heart. It breaks my sense of the past. But I do love this country nonetheless, and it's a beautiful culture and language, and it's a special one within Europe. So yeah,
Okay.
I lived here for part of my childhood, but I grew up in England.
I like speaking and having these discussions. Um, I'm trying to get you to probably see a few things there. If you go by your intuition, that's pretty safe. If you go by signifying marks, probably not so much. Okay. The reason why I say that is that there have been a lot of people, as you have pointed out, who have been fooled by narcissists. So what is a narcissist? You really think a narcissist appears to you as some evil character in a, what do you call these vests that wife beaters,
Mm-hmm.
right? No, he doesn't. He appears as a very charming person. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the signifying marks may not be, but when you're talking about evil or good and bad, you're talking about the results of a particular kind of energy. Okay. Now, some
Mm-hmm.
time ago, we had a situation where we had somebody who was a light worker who said that they do energy on people, and Andrew challenged that person based on the concept that if you're doing any kind of energy work on someone without their consent,
I
you
remember
may,
that. I could hear that. Yeah, I listened to it afterwards. Yes.
yes, you run the risk of unintended consequences. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so let's put it this way. To the person, let me give you an illustration so that you understand what I'm talking about. You are a light worker. Okay, assuming that you see someone who's in dire trouble, you remove that obstacle, but the person falls into another trap. To
Mm-hmm.
that person, you are an evil person. Do you understand?
Oh yes.
To that person, you're an evil person. The energy that you put out was good. The results
Mm-hmm.
were negative.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you determine where the evil lies? Does the evil lie in your intent,
Oh, yes.
right? Or does the evil lie in the result? Do you
Oh, the
understand what I
intent.
mean?
The intent, for sure.
So what if your intent was to try to help that person?
Well, I don't think that it would make me evil. It would make me ignorant of the results
What
of
do you
my
think the person would
action.
call you?
Sorry.
What do you think the person would call you? Do you
Well,
think they would
in
call you
that moment,
ignorant? Or would you think they call you evil?
well, I think in that moment they would probably appreciate being saved, and perhaps the next time that they fell into the same hole, they might wonder, well, I wish that person didn't save me. I don't actually think they would call me evil, but
Okay, let's try it this way. Let me give you an illustration. There is someone being abused by their spouse, or someone else. There's someone being abused by their spouse. You are some great magician. You sit down and you say to the universe, or you pray to whoever it is that you pray to, whatever magic that you're using, remove that person from that person's life so they may not be abused anymore. I want to help this person. And what spits back is that the person who's abusing them gets run over by a truck and they're in a codependent relationship. Okay?
mhm.
Do you think that person would think of you as, oh, she was just trying to help and she's ignorant? Or do you think that person would think of you as evil? I'm sorry, I like to give those little conundrums to people.
Well, knowing how bad abuse is, and how people who are being abused are usually not aware of it, that person may not realize that their lives will actually get better from that. But because they're probably still very much in the pattern of abuse and codependency, they would not want to lose their spouse, even though it would probably be the best thing for them. And
And
I wouldn't wish for anyone to die. Personally.
but this is exactly the point I was getting at. Energy is just energy. The consequences are actually what makes it evil and not evil. Okay? If you talk to 1,000 bad people, they will have an excuse as to, no, that's not what I wanted. I'm not a bad person. I was just trying to do good. And I mean, some of the worst people in the world have said this to me.
Actually, you know what? My mother is trying to tell that to me now, based on just to justify their actions. So you're very much on point.
Yeah. So be careful with regard to the good and evil, because generally speaking, people generally tend, when you're dealing with a high level spirituality, okay, I mean, I know there are Christians and there are Buddhists and so on, but I'm talking about the people who do light work, people who practice magic, whether it be, well, it doesn't matter, from whatever path that they practice. The energy that you use does not have a label attached to it. And I'm talking to the witches out there. You think that, oh, the moon is waxing, so I'm doing positive magic. The moon is waning, so I'm doing negative, destructive magic. No, it's the same energy. It's the same energy that you're putting out. Okay? Right? You're using gravitational forces to create different effects. And that's basically what I wanted to bring across to you. So be careful, be careful, because the term black magician only refers to the effects. It doesn't refer to the energy that is used. Do you understand what I'm trying to say, Phaedriana?
I actually like the idea that I could potentially be the one who determines whether this energy is going to be black or white. I tend to feel I usually have believed up until now that intent is what will direct the energy to be dark or light, because until then it's merely energy, and that's why it's also power, and how people
Agreed.
can end up abusing that power, and when it's for the ego and all that. But it's hard for me to imagine that energy without intent. It's because I've always felt that intent.
No, I agree with you.
The energy.
I agree with you. Intent does define the energy. The energy itself does not have a label. If I put a gun in your hand, you could either use it to shoot animals to feed. Well, even that is bad. But anyway, you could either use it to defend somebody who's innocent, or you could use it to shoot somebody who's innocent. Agreed?
Yes, definitely.
The
Yes.
gun by itself is not bad, is it?
Yes, that's a very good point. Yes.
Right? So the intent is necessary. Now, let me ask you a question, because, you know, I'm the curveball guy, right?
Yes, I like that.
So because I like to make the audience think. So think about this. How many people can use a gun properly? It is the nature of unintended consequences, because you see a lot of people will pick up a gun and just use it. There are thousands of people practicing magic out there for whatever ends. How many of them are actually trained?
Well,
To
unfortunately,
make the intent and the consequences coincide with each other. So somebody might say, you know what? I'm going to be doing black magic. I'm going to like hurt my neighbor. Okay. So I want my neighbor's house, who I'm really jealous of, to crumble and fall. So they make the little replica of the house and they smash the house. Okay. So winter comes around. I don't know, an avalanche covers the house and breaks it. But their neighbor gets an insurance settlement for about $20 million. The act and builds about 5 other houses around them that are exactly the same. Okay? It is the nature of unintended consequences that these things happen. A gun is just a gun, but you should really learn how to use it before you actually pick it up. And if you're going to pick it up, make sure, right, that your intent is pure, is what I'm trying to say to you.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, definitely agreed. And I feel that there are people out there who do not realize the significance of this, and they can easily do harm without meaning to as well. And but most especially to themselves, people who just meddle in those fields. And unfortunately, the person I had encountered had been doing it for decades, and had teachers and had connections, and was like so supernaturally talented it wasn't even real. And anyway, so I definitely got a hard one there, and it took me some time to even figure it out. It took me about a year to figure it out, and then and I've been healing ever since and getting stronger. And yes, so
excellent. We like that.
Yeah, I've actually often felt that the reason I might have had to go through all of this would be so that I would learn discernment, because the only way to be able to discern this kind of expression or beingness is to have seen it, because otherwise nobody would even believe it existed. Or so
Hey,
yeah.
Phaedrona, can I point something out to you? Here's the unintended consequence. Some negative person is harming you. Unintended consequences. We're now talking to a strong human being who's not afraid. Unintended consequence. Do you see me? Do you understand? That is a good consequence from negativity. From negativity came a good thing.
I mean, there's been other good results coming from this fight, and that was having been able to draw myself away from the world in a way. I mean, I was still in the world because I'm also a performing artist and I perform with other people, but until then I was so out in the world that I didn't spend enough time just being with myself, and having to heal put me in touch with myself and my power in a way that I would not have been able to do if I was just out with the crowd all the time. And so when you're forced to take the path of healing because there's no other way, you can actually benefit from that in a way that you wouldn't put that amount of time and energy into it otherwise, unless you really, really, really had to. So
excellent. See, bad energy creates good things sometimes.
Isn't that interesting? It's a paradox, but I love that. I love how that works.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for coming. Yes, you have a good day. So David,
Thank you. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for doing this for everyone. Have a wonderful day.
you too.
See.
So we are at nearly the top of the hour, David. This is a unique webcast webinar started and had its little gremlins in there. But we want to remind people about the Baby Steps online adult program. Contact info at unifiedhealthsystems.com. Also, both David and I are open to sessions, private sessions dealing with your issues. David's like a counselor, has many things, hypnotherapist. I do my sessions also. So you can contact David at info@unifiedhealthsystems.com if you want to book a session with David. You can contact MPA at galactichistorian.com if you want a session with me. And we are running a special right now for those that want to have private sessions. And then we have a specialized thing where both David and I can come together and give advanced business counseling to those people that are their spiritual journeys and are running businesses and want to step up the game. Now, this type of coaching and counseling is to get you on the business journey, on the spiritual journey, on track with accountability. So if you're interested in private sessions, contact MPA at Galactic Historian, info at Unified Health Systems. Now, we're going to be doing these webcasts every other Friday for now until the end of the year. And we're going to be doing these because we are bringing content to you like no others. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and put a comment down below. We want to hear your feedback. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Bye, everyone.